What's up, everybody? This is Ryan Van Ornum back with another edition of the Scaling Up Success podcast brought to you by Strategist. Strategist is your scalable operations company that helps you grow exponentially faster at a fraction of the cost. Go check out Strategist.com for more information on that. Today, I'm honored to have Stacey Hylen on as our guest today. Stacey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on, Ryan.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you, and so excited to hear more about what you got going on because, the audience, I'm so excited to hear your story. So, let's just jump into it. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
Yeah, so I'm a business coach. I've been business coaching for almost 25 years now, including working with Tony Robbins as vice president of consulting for his Business Mastery brand. But in the last 3 years, I've also been digging into AI because, as you know, that's the thing. But I was actually into AI before AI was like the hot topic, and I became a certified AI consultant so that I can integrate that into my clients' businesses as well as the support that they need with the marketing and the marketing positioning and all of that.
Fantastic. And what have you seen with that growth in that sector right now in terms of on the coaching side? Do you feel like it's amplifying people's businesses at different structures of their business?
Well, it's interesting because, like I mentioned, I've been in coaching for a gazillion years compared to a lot of the people in the industry. And I've seen, like, back when everybody all of a sudden started being social media people, like they were like, oh, we're a social media person. And they would just jump on that bandwagon. And I think that's what's happening right now with AI, is that people that don't really have any, like, I literally went through a whole program, got certified. I was spent 3 years on this. And then all of a sudden in the last, I would say 6 months, everybody is like rebranding to do AI. So it's just really interesting to see that flood of the market. And I think that's a lot of times affected by the fact that I've seen, post-COVID, post-SBA loans expiring and all of that, that a lot of people that were in the coaching business before have gotten jobs, done other things than just having a coaching business.
Sure. Yeah. People have tried to rebrand and restructure different ways just to, keep moving forward with certain opportunities. So like you've been in the game for a little bit. What are you most proud about this journey that you've been on with the coaching and that piece of it?
Yeah. So for me, I got into coaching when my dad passed away, and it was really a driver of, he died at 56, which now I'm in my 50s. That's super young. And so when I set up my business, I was very intentional that I wanted this to be giving entrepreneurs back to their families and not do it in a way that was hustle, and, burn out. And so I'm proud of the fact that I was able to be there for my kids through them growing up, meet the school bus, go to their competitions, all of that. But I'm also really proud, like I've had clients that have gone from 6 to 8 figures. And they've been able to take vacations with their kids. They've been able to go on, their bucket list things that they wanted to do. And so to be able to go from 6 to 8 figures and still be able to do those things is a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely. So like, as you've seen, like some of your clients grow through this process and see them, extrapolate where they wanted to be, like how does that like define you? Like, does it change your definition of success when you're helping these clients like that way? Like, or does it matter to you like how well that they're growing their business?
Well, my goal is for them to grow their revenue, but also increase their freedom and the time. I see you have the Buy Back Your Time, which is one of the great books I recommend to my clients behind you.
Yeah.
I want them to do it in a way that works for them, right? So I might have clients that, work on Sundays and, are doing that. And I might have clients that, don't want to work Fridays. Like it really is, we do the lifestyle design for what works for each client. So it's not for me to decide. Like for me, I want to be here at the lake with my kids when my kids are on vacation, right? And be able to do that. So each person has to decide what that, looks like success for themselves.
Absolutely. Like one of the things that I find really interesting, especially like in years of business coaching, is like I find that there's so many unexpected paths that come out of certain conversations because like the connections you make with your clients probably open up doors to other opportunities and stuff like that. Do you have a story that you can share about something like that?
Well, I would say like for me, the biggest one was when I was young in business. I had little kids. I was literally getting up at 4 a.m. to nurse my baby and then go to networking meetings. And then my husband would meet me in the parking lot and he would bring me the baby and I would take the baby home. And I actually got kicked out of the networking group for having the baby there for when he was traveling.
Wow.
And so from that, I had a friend that I knew from the coaching association, and she introduced me to Chet Holmes, who wrote The Ultimate Sales Machine.
Yeah,
and was
I read
business partners with Tony Robbins. So that going to that association meeting in Philadelphia and being open when she said, hey, this guy Chet, he's really brilliant and he's looking for somebody to help him with coaching. It turns out I was the second person that he brought on to help him with his coaching.
Wow.
And so it just, like, even now his daughter has been reaching out to me with the clients that she knows, because I've done the Dream 100 for so many of their clients. And she's like, would you be willing to do this and help out? So that was very, very interesting contact. And then that turned into me working with Tony Robbins, because Chet and Tony became partners. So it was just like very synergistic how that happened.
That's super cool. Yeah, I've read Tony's books. I've read Chet's books. Like, they're phenomenal. And like you said, they're true visionaries in their field. So I love that you have, it's so crazy how people are intertwined with things, and you look back over the years, you're like, it's almost serendipitous that these things came to fruition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's really, I think when you know what you want, right, and you're able to keep your focus on what's important to you, whether it's, your family, or like some people, it's like they're training for triathlons. It just depends on what the person's interested in. And if you keep your focus on that and just keep saying yes to the things that feel good and feel like you're in flow. And then I always tell my clients, if it feels heavy, if it feels like you're pulling or dragging, then, say no to that and just keep moving towards the things that are in flow for you.
Right. So one of the things, like, how do you recommend when you're working with clients that are hiring large staffs? How do you, a lot of times they start off real small and they have a really tight culture, but then they grow into like this larger establishment. How do you recommend that they still maintain culture while building, and scaling that out to a larger type of organization?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good question, because I think hiring is so, like with what you do, that's amazing to help people. One of the things is that really looking at what are your values in the company before you start hiring. So yesterday I had a guy, he's buying a new company. Well, he's not buying a new company, he's buying an old company that's been in business for like 40 years. And I said, well, you really need to look at what your values are, so that when you come in and you're talking to the employees, and when you're hiring, because he's going to be hiring a lot, like, hire for those values, people that you feel fit those values. And then when you do employee feedback, then you can incorporate those values into the feedback that you're giving to people. So for example, one of my clients, world-class communication is one of his values. Resourcefulness is one of his values. And so now when he does an employee review, it's like, okay, well, this is an example of like how you were doing world-class communication with our clients, and I loved it. This is an example of where things went off the rail with world-class communication, and like, let's fix that. And so it really helps you integrate like what you want as a person and how you want your business to grow, and it feels like a good team. And then the second thing I would say is like really cut your losses more quickly, because I've seen, people just, they love people, right? But sometimes even if you like that person, if they're not the right fit for the role, they're not the right fit for the company or the right fit for the culture, you have to just let that person go, even though it's hard.
I find that it's, like the strategy of like slow to hire, quick to fire, like it sounds so easy to do, but like, it's when people's lives are involved that there's like this, you get understanding about who they are as a person and stuff like that. No matter where they are around the world, like you're invested into your people if you're that type of leader. I struggle with that. Like, how do you give advice to people, like, even if like you want to do the best for the people, but at the same time you feel like they're maybe holding back the entire company or being detrimental. How do you get past that they can actually like, okay, I gotta cut ties with this person?
I have struggled with this so much in the past, because it is like especially if you're a heart-led leader and you like really like people, and part of it is hiring somebody that's like you, right? So if you hire somebody that I'm like very high energy, very friendly, and so if I hire somebody like me for an operations role, they're not the right fit for that role, right?
Absolutely,
so that's number one mistake. As you know, we're helping people with their operations. But I think it's having outside counsel that's super important in this space, because if I just sit here and I'm like, oh, I really like Amy. Amy's so nice. Oh, Amy's son just started college, or, you know, like Amy's husband just got laid off, like all these things that are like personal. And so I think it's really taking it outside. Like I have coaches as well that I can say like, here's the role that I have. Here's what's happening with the role. Here's what I've done to try to coach the person. So I'm not saying like just strike the person off the books right away. You want to give them coaching, feedback, room to grow. But when you have outside counsel to be like, you know what, Stacey, you've tried this, this, and this, and it's still not working, like Amy's got to go.
Yeah. And, you know, that's what, you know, being the leader of your company, you have to, I mean, you sign up for those tough conversations. Yeah. Like, you know, and a lot of people, they want to be everybody's friend, or they're too harsh, you know, and they're just, you know, not even able to communicate with people because they're standoffish. So it's like finding the right balance to be the leader. You know, that's what's probably gonna like take your business to the next level, is finding that true balance. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have that balance. And I think another thing that I think has helped me when I do have to let somebody go is to know that when things don't work out, like just like if you're dating, right? Like if I look back at my dating, which was like a lot of frogs, like a lot of frogs, in fact, some poisonous snakes, like, but if those things didn't work out, then the awesome thing of my husband that I have now never could have happened. So I totally believe that by letting people go that aren't a right fit, that their next best thing is going to come for them, right? And if they're trying to fit in this thing that is just not a good fit and you're trying to cram them in that, they're not going to get to experience the good that's out there for them.
Kind of leads me to another question, that what's your thoughts on people trying to skirt around pain in business? Because I kind of, the feeling that I have is like, as a business owner, you have to go through pain. Because like in order to understand and enjoy the process and find joy and fulfillment in what you do, you still have to, the opposite feeling is still the pain of going through certain situations, right? Not everything is sunshine and rainbows and unicorns dancing, right?
Yeah, well, I always say to my husband, well, I'm not out there digging ditches today, right? Like, you know, like a bad day in my own business is still better than working for somebody else. But I think it's a duality thing, right? There's contrast, right? So like when you have something that is negative, like what you consider negative, then it allows you to, you know, appreciate the positive more, right? It's funny because I'm here in New Hampshire on Lake Winnipesaukee, and my mom, she goes to Arizona during the winter, and she'll be like, oh, it's so cold today, but she doesn't experience winter, right? So she's not getting that contrast of like, oh, what a gorgeous day. Even if it's not like to her a gorgeous day, we're still appreciative. So I think as a business owner, to know like you're going to have those ups and downs, but you know, being able to weather those so that you can appreciate the things. And I think a big part of it is celebrating wins. Because I had a business owner that he had started working with me when he was at 6 figures. He went to 8 figures. He sold his business for multiple 8 figures, really great exit, and got into a bidding war. And when he went from 7 figures to 8 figures, we had a coaching call, and he didn't even mention that he had crossed 8 figures. So we were on the call and we were talking, and he's like, oh yeah, like we hit $10 million today. Like, just like, you know, like, right. And I was like, excuse me? Like, hello, you didn't think to mention that and celebrate that? And so I think as entrepreneurs, we have this always wanting the next thing. Like, we're high achievers. We want to achieve. And if you read that book, The Gap and the Gain. Yep,
read that one too.
Right? So they talk about like, we're always looking at the gap. And so we're never happy because we're looking at the gap. But if we looked at the gain of where we came from, we would be happier. So I really, every time I start one of my coaching calls, every time I start one of my mastermind calls, we celebrate what are the wins you're celebrating. And they don't have to be big wins. They could be like, this crappy thing happened. I addressed it. I got through it. That's a win. So I think really getting into that culture of appreciating, even like getting through the hard stuff is important.
I was just going to say that, like, even if you can just set, like, I made my bed today, if that's the only win that you could find, like, or I got my kids to school on time, or whatever it is, just find little dubs every day. I think I said that on one of my videos I put out a couple weeks ago. It's like finding those little wins and watch them compile and build up, because the little wins actually are the motivators for bigger wins.
Right. And you're stacking them. Like as you stack those wins, it's like, okay, I did this. I didn't want to do it, but I did it. Right. And we've rescheduled this podcast a few times, and I had my appendix burst. Right. And so that has been a real wake up call of like, you know, I didn't just jump back into everything as fast as I thought I could, you know, so being able to be like, okay, today I'm walking like a half a mile. Like normally I walk between 3 to 5 miles a day. So I was like, this is bull crap, right? Like now I'm walking, like I did 4 miles this week, you know? So now I'm like, yay, I walked with my dog on the leash, which is a huge thing. So just like those little things made it easier than being like, oh, I'm not like how I used to be.
And like, that's something to think about as you're raising your kids too, or like people watching this, is like, think about what Stacey just talked about. Like, you know, she's basically teaching resiliency and grit and determination. Like, hey, she had her appendix burst, and now she's fighting through these things that she had to start with maybe a quarter mile or half mile, and now she's back up to 4 miles. You know, like, what does that show, like, the people in her life of how resilient she is? That's pretty amazing stuff, and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was actually, my daughter, who's now 22, she was a national level gymnast. And so I was working for Tony Robbins, right? So she got a lot of, like, her first competition, I went to wake her up and she was 8 years old, and she was in bed rehearsing her routines. And I didn't tell her to do that. That was kind of like her learning from me of like visualization, all of those things. And when her coach, this Romanian coach, came into the gym as a new coach and said, we think your daughter can make it to the national level. And I was like, what? And she said, your daughter, she goes on the balance beam and she falls off. And she said, she doesn't go to the end of the line and wait in line. She jumps right back up on the beam right away. And so she gets more, like, you know, they say you get more at bats, right? Well, she got more beam. And so like that, you know, fall 7, get up 8, like that grit. Like, I'm like, if my little 8-year-old can do that, like mom better be doing it too. Like she might've learned it from me, but then I watch her. So it kind of, when you're hanging out with people that have that same grit and resilience, then it makes you think, well, I have to get back up, right? Like you can't do that if you're hanging out with the wrong crowd.
It makes you really think, and like you're touching on that, like who's in your circle, you know, like are you, you know, and so many people I relate it back to like, who were your friends in high school, and then you went to college, maybe you went to the military like I did, and then I come back and I'm like these people are in the same spot that they were 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm like, why? Like, you know, like I have changed. I've become a better person, a better form of myself, and like you can't keep those same people, and they can be in a larger circle around you, but those inner circle people, like to me, those people got to be very tight, and they can be interchangeable because you want to step up to the next level. Is that something that you look at that way?
Well, like absolutely. Like I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and I literally have gone back to like for a funeral, right? And it's really like that mindset of people hadn't gone out of the town, haven't, you know, changed their friend group, their environment. They haven't been exposed to these big things. And I think really getting, like, I've exposed myself to masterminds that I was the dumbest one in the room, right? I went into mastermind with Russell Brunson, and, you know, I literally was crying on Voxer with Russell Brunson, right? Like, because I was stepping up, I was doing things, I was failing. And he was like, you know, this is good. Like what you did was good. You just got to keep going, like keep getting back up on the balance beam. And I think, you know, my mastermind, I have 2 masterminds, and the one, it was supposed to be a 6-month mastermind, and it's multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs, and they're going into their 8th year now, right? And it's because they're this group that every 6 months they're like, yep, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going, because they have this group now that that knows them, knows their goals, knows their struggles, wants the best for them. And I think that's a key differentiator. Like if you look back at your friends from high school or, other friend groups you're in, they don't want the best for you, right? They don't see like, oh, Ryan has big goals and I'm going to give him some help to get there and support and encouragement. They're like, oh, Ryan, is he too, like tall poppy syndrome of like, we're going to cut down the person that wants to rise above and have $1 million business. Like they're like, oh, well, who does he think he is? Like, why does he read all these books that are, going to the next level? So I think it's really important to surround yourself with the great inner circle.
I couldn't have answered it better myself. Thank you for sharing so much about that stuff. Now we're gonna transition. One of the things that I love to do is get a little bit more like personal side of stuff, and we do it in like a rapid fire type of question. Are you open for it?
I'm open for it.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, we already talked a little bit, but like, are you reading any books right now?
I am reading Worthy. Is one of the books I'm reading. I tend to read like a bunch of different books at once, but that's one of the ones I'm reading.
Very cool. Very cool. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Oh, I wish I was an early bird, but I like to stay up late, and I like to, I get into like a lot of times I'll have family time after work time, and going outside and paddleboard and stuff like that. But then I'll get into oh, I just want to go see this, and I start fiddling with projects and things later at night when I have quiet time.
Okay, very cool. If you had a historical figure, somebody alive or deceased, to have dinner with, who would you want to have dinner with?
Do they have to be famous?
No, they just have to be a historical figure of some sort that people would probably recognize.
So that people would know. Oh gosh, who is a historical figure? Let's say Margaret Thatcher. Ooh. Right? Because she really was a woman leader in a time that there weren't very many women leaders. So I would really want to know how she did that and all the nasty stuff that went on behind scenes.
I love that. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have a bucket list travel spot that you'd love to be at?
I love to travel. I do want to go to Iceland, and I want to go to Croatia. And I would like to go to Iceland and ride horses around the Golden Circle.
Oh, wow. That would be cool.
And I also want to hike Mount Blanc in Switzerland. I've been to Switzerland a ton of times, but I really want to the last time I went with my mom and my 2 daughters. But I do want to do even more hiking in the Alps because I just love it.
Very cool. Are you a coffee, tea, soda, energy? What are you drinking?
I drink water with lots of ice and tea. That's it.
Perfect. If you had a superpower, what's the one superpower you'd have?
I think it would be what's her name? Like Amanda on Bewitched. Just twinkle my nose and be like, oh, I'm over there now. Oh, I'm over there. Oh, I changed this. I would love to be like Bewitched.
Very cool. Very cool. A couple more. Do you have a favorite cheat meal?
You know what? I used to, but really now I don't think of cheat meals. I just try to eat more intuitively, and I eat whatever I want without calling it a cheat or not a cheat.
Love it. Love it. Very cool. And lastly, what's on, you said you walking the dog and stuff like that. What's on your playlist while you're walking the dog?
Bread, bread, out of there. Just kidding. It depends. If I'm here in New Hampshire, I'm in the woods, so I don't really listen to other things. I'm kind of looking for bears and things like that. Sure. And I'll just be talking out loud, but I'll listen to podcasts. I'll listen to books on Audible, and that Buy Back Your Time, the one that you have up there, that's another, those kinds of books, just to kind of keep them on repeat. But I only usually keep one earbud in so that I have one ear out.
I'm the same way. I only have one in right now. Exactly. I love it. Very cool.
Situational awareness. You've been in the military.
Exactly. I remember walking, real quick story. I remember walking on a trail in Colorado one time, and I had just one in, and the person I was walking with had both of theirs in and nearly stepped on a rattlesnake. Yeah. Just for that reason, I was like, I
never.
Never, I never do it anyway, but I just, it reaffirmed that you have to have that
really
awareness.
Important. It's actually even more so for women, but yeah, we've had bears here on our property and my dog has chased them away. So especially it's feeding season. So I'm always aware.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to keep your eyes and ears open while you're out there. So thank you for that. We got a couple more questions I want to wrap up with. So if you could go back to a time in a younger version of yourself and you could time travel, what would be that one piece of advice you'd give younger Stacey?
I would say, well, there's a few relationships I would have said, like, get the hell out, like, right now, like, you have to do. But I know that I learned things in those relationships that helped. I would say invest in Google and Facebook.
Right. 2013 Bitcoin.
Yeah, something like that.
I love it. Now, conversely, where do you see yourself in like the next 5 years?
Well, we split our time between the US and Canada, and so my kids are now in college, and so we're still in figure it outy mode of where we actually want to end up, but I want to do a lot more travel. I have my women's mastermind group, and then I have an open mastermind group. I love to do that, so I want to do more mastermind groups, more speaking, and I want to do more international retreats. So I would love, because I love Switzerland and places that I could like bring a retreat of business owners over there and be like, hey, we're going hiking, we're going in the sauna, we're going to go swim in these mountain lakes, and then we're going to like brainstorm and, mastermind your business, because I love that. It's fun.
That's phenomenal. And I love what you got going on and taking that to the next level. Fantastic work. So, Stacey, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for your time. And if people are interested in your services, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can go to staceyhylen.com. So that's Stacey, Stacey, and then Hylen is Hylen, which is help you leverage everything now. And so you can go there. I have a quiz on my website that you can see about how you can scale your business and add a zero without the hustle. So I would definitely suggest going through the quiz to see where you're at in your business journey of how you can do it, because I really believe that to grow your business, to do it without the hustle is the way to do it, so that you don't get to the end of your life and be like, what did I do? Right? Like, you want to not have those regrets like my dad did on his deathbed.
One last thing before we wrap up is like justifying, and you don't have to justify this at all, but it bad interpretation, I guess, is like when you have a coach. I relate it to like Michael Jordan in basketball. Always had he had like Doug Collins was a great coach, but never got to that championship level with that before he got to Phil Jackson. And then, won 6 championships. It's like having the right business coach, having the right mentor will unlock doors and opportunities that you never saw. And is that something that you kind of see as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, I saw it with my daughter with her gymnastics, right? She trained with 2 Olympic coaches. But I think for me, what happens is a lot of times most of my clients stay with me for years. I have clients that have been with me for 14 years, 10 years, 3 years, 6 years, my mastermind, 7, 8 years. So the thing is that when you get a coach that really has the strategic vision for you, for your business, can see all the things that are possible and also the potential in you and is helping you reach it, then it makes sense to stay with a coach and not coach hop. Because what happens is when you coach hop, so for example, if you coach hop and you had a problem with XYZ, that coach doesn't know that, right? So like, for example, a lot of my clients, like say for example, they were doing a launch, and I know that this person tends to get really stressed out and change her pricing when she does a launch. Then I know the next time she does a launch, like, listen, we're going to really anchor in on your pricing for this launch so that you're not like judging it last minute and trying to tweak everything, right? And so it's really important to have somebody that knows what your strengths are, knows what your goals are, and also knows what the weaknesses are and challenges are so that, you can address those.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much for all the insight. It's been phenomenal to have you on. And once again, really appreciate your time today, Stacey.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Awesome. Well, once again, Ryan Van Ornum with the Scaling Up Success podcast. Check us out also brought to you by Strategist. Check us out at strategist.com. Thank you so much and stay blessed, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.